You all showed up today. Thank you. I'm not going to use the microphone. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. I've heard some unusual stories already this morning from people that were in the workshop yesterday. I'm sure I'll hear some more today. I want to honor you with the best of my energy today. And I'm going to talk about several subjects today. I'm going to break it up. Usually hear a sermon, it's one thing. We're going to kind of do a little mixed bag here because we're going to film it and it'll be on YouTube and these are important things. You may not hear them before. I'm going to talk about Babaji today. I'm going to talk about Vietnam today. I'm talking about surrendering as part of healing. And I'm going to talk about the actual vortex, that the energy that we created here yesterday. We'll talk a little bit about that. But basically, it's all about love. And being on a Sunday, it's nice to gather and share that. So I want to thank each one of you for coming. I hope that with me covering a variety of subjects today, it covers why you came. Usually when I teach healing, like we did yesterday, I go into more depth talking about frequencies and chakras and some groups I even talk about other aspects such as surrender. But I think this group kind of needs to know there's another way to heal. And the third way is surrendering your situation. I'll tell you a story and it illustrates the point. About 10 years ago, I was feeling really, really terrible, ill. When I was a child, I had a kidney disease. I was in the hospital a year, so I know what a kidney feels like. It was back pains and really bad things were happening. And I didn't understand it. I was feeling awful. I went to an acupuncturist, a Korean lady, friend of mine, older woman practicing Korean medicine. And she just took one look at me, took my pulse, my breath. Looks in my eyes. She goes, "You got a kidney problem." It's a really amazing diagnostic system. But I said, "Really?" She says, "Yeah, I'm not even going to touch you. Go see your doctor." So I go see the doctor and I get a urine sample, and they run the numbers on a thing called GFR. It's your filtration rates. And if you're healthy, it's over 75, a lot, whatever that number means. And when the number came back, the number said 22 or something, or 20, which is like, if it goes down 1 or 2 more points, you're on dialysis. And so I went online and I looked it up, because I was saying, well, geez, 20 here, what's going on, right? And according to the National Diabetes Foundation and the Kidneys Foundation and all these organizations, they said, once your number gets down below 25 or 30 or 40, it ain't coming up. Deal with it. You got a real serious situation. And so I went on further and I read and said, if you got that, expect to be on dialysis. It's going to be a major thing. So I was depressed for all of about 15 minutes maybe. I thought, wow, man, I'm traveling all over the place. I'm doing things. If I'm on dialysis, how can I do that, right? And then I thought, well, if I'm on dialysis, I'm on those machines with all those other people. They need prayer. They need love. And the staff does too. And if I'm sitting there for 5 hours a day, 3 days a week or whatever, I catch up with my email. I can write another book. In fact, I could become an advocate for these things, and I could just go off in a whole new world. And so I made peace with it. I said, you know what? If that's going to happen, I got a plan. I surrender. God, whatever it is, give it to me. I handle it. No problem. That took about 15 minutes for me to get to that headset. But I surrendered to it. So a couple days later, Kaiser Hospital, my HMO out in California, calls me up because I did a test and they looked at the numbers. They go, you better get down here. This is really bad, right? So I go down there and the guy looks at me and I'm feeling good now. Went in feeling really terrible to get the test. Now I'm going in feeling good. And the guy goes, well, this doesn't match the numbers. You're filling in, your back's not nice. I'm feeling great. So he ran a new test. And that afternoon, I was going to get the results back. Meanwhile, I had a friend, Gail Linz, who wrote the foreword for one of my books, if you've read it. She's a New York Times best-selling author, and she knows me very well. She calls me up just before the doctor calls me up, and she says, you know, Bill, with your positive thinking and with your will to live, you know, nothing's impossible, because they told me it was impossible to move the numbers up. She says, not for you. She says, if you believe they'll go up, they'll go up. I go, really? She goes, yeah. You know, talking to the choir here. Right? I said, okay. So I hung up, and as soon as I hung up, the doctor calls and said, there must have been a mistake with your first test, because your second test shows you're over 75, and that's impossible to move the numbers from 20 to over 75. Impossible within 24 hours. And I said, well, no, it's not. And he says, well, we don't believe in miracles. Says, you know, and it must have been a mistake on the first test. I said, well, then you better be careful, because if you gave me somebody else's score, you'd be sure looking for them, because they're in trouble, right? So anyway, so it was when I surrendered to the possibility of drier, you know, terrible circumstances. I mean, you know, being on dialysis is no fun. I was going to make it fun. I was going to become an advocate. And that's the way I look at everything. I went into surgery for my face. I talked to the group yesterday where they thought they were going to amputate both eyeballs, cancer. So I was going into surgery not knowing if I got out of that surgery, if I still had my eyes, maybe one, maybe none. The only thing I did was give a good look to my wife's face before I went into surgery. I looked outside the beautiful sky and I go, I got the memories. It doesn't matter. Because if I got that, if I lose one eye, how cool, I have an eye patch. That's neat. And you've seen me wear an eye patch. I mean, it's a cool look. And if I lose both, I will find all these other senses they talk about that you heighten, right? So it wasn't the end of the world. I accepted. I said, go ahead, God. Whatever. It's all a gift. When you surrender to your problem, be it a disease or a problem, you know, I got a bill paid. You know, don't fight it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. Be happy, right? That philosophy is a major step in the healing process. So I just thought I'd pass it on, because this group yesterday that was here, I have never, ever had a group that came to the frequency and the energy this group did yesterday so quickly. It was either the people here or this building itself. You know, I started thinking that perhaps this is a vortex. There's something special about this chapel in North Carolina at this retreat site. Perhaps the stained glass window, because there's been some stories about this window. I was here early in the morning yesterday, about this time of day. Now you take a look at this, it's about the same sun angle and everything. Do you see any light coming through? There's no colors shining me or nothing. I'll post these pictures so you can see them. I was standing right on the side of this, facing this way where somebody was taking my picture. I don't know if you've seen it. We could see the color. It wasn't like an orb that you didn't see and show it on the film. We could see, when we looked down at my white shirt, or whatever color shirt I had, there was 3 pink spots on my chakras. We took 3 pictures, 4 pictures. Who shot those? Somebody, there you did, back there. We took 3 or 4 shots. They all had that pink lined up on the chakra, on the front. But you could see it when you were shooting the picture. I could see it. But if any light was coming through here, it'd be hitting my back. And if there's no light coming at all now, it's about the same time of day we took the pictures, and there's nothing around this chapel that has any red other than what's back there. But I was lit up. There was a healing energy right there. We took pictures just moments later with other people and with me, with other people. Nothing. It was just a 1-minute shot. That was it. So you have a special thing going here. This is a beautiful place. And what has made this place so beautiful is the energy that selected members of this community And I say community, I'm talking about just living in town. I'm talking about a community of souls. You're joining together to do activities and things, but you're also joining together in spirit as well. And it could be felt. I got feedback from several people that called me and sent me messages. People were going, oh, no, you touched me here, and I saw eyes. When I closed my eyes, I was seeing the colors. I was feeling this down my spine. Normal for my workshops, but it was a little more intense and a little more quicker than most of my normal workshops. First off, the people telling me these things understood what it was. Oh yeah, that's my, it's lighting up. I'm looking at my spiritual eye, et cetera, et cetera. That's a reflection on you, the community that comes here and worships. And I truly believe that in your own way, you guys are worshiping and you're growing. Now, in honor of my Vietnam veteran and people associated with Vietnam veterans, I thought I would talk about Vietnam experience. So, in 1967, tax week, April 15th, around there, right? So about the same time. So that's what, 50, 67? Yeah, it's 50-something years ago. I was shot down, I was wounded, but it's a miraculous story. It's not, got a sting flying across, a Purple Heart. No, I'm going to tell you the story because this story was been investigated by the CIA, what's the Army's equivalent of the NCIS? They got their own organizations, whatever it is, yeah, CID. So I was investigated because nobody could believe it. They were trying to figure out what was happening. Here's the story, okay? And I'm telling this story because people think of Vietnam, they usually just think blood, violence, things happen, terrible, everybody's right. And I'm telling you, in that chaos of war, God also exists. The divine energy is there. And I was attuned with it, and it served me. Point being, no matter where you're at in this world, no matter where you're at in this life, whatever circumstances you're in, if it's combat, or if you're in the mall in combat, it doesn't matter. If you're connected, you will be taken care of. Point, which I'm going to illustrate. Got a call. I was a crew chief door gunner on a Huey helicopter. I think everybody can kind of visualize the old newsreels and television news. The helicopters flying around them, guy in the door with a gun, but I was also a guy with a toolbox underneath there because if it broke down, I got to fix it, in the middle of the jungle. So we got a call that there was a ARVN unit. An ARVN unit was a South Vietnamese Army, Republic of Vietnam. So it's the South of Vietnam's army. And they were engaged with an enemy force estimated to be 500 North Vietnamese regular troops. This is big time stuff. There was only 150 Rangers, South Vietnamese Rangers on the ground. And we had to bring them in supplies and more people. And I was in what they call the command and control ship. We were above the battle, and we had the commanders for the ground troops. We're looking down at this. It's really weird. You're up in the sky, and you look at this whole battle going down, and there's people fighting and dropping and everything. And all of a sudden, we got the call, go down, you got to drop the commanders off. And so we had a couple of South Vietnamese colonels and majors. We come in, and on my headset, I'm hearing, there's friendlies on the ground. We don't know where the good guys are at. We don't know where the bad guys are at. Don't fire your machine gun, please. So I'm going in, and all the other helicopters have left. The gunships, everybody's left, because 9 helicopters were shot up. We're the only one left in the sky. You got 500 bad guys on the ground, and 1 ship coming down with orders not to fire. And if you're going to land, you got to slow down, and you got to get lower, And when you get ready to land, the helicopter's going pretty darn slow. So what's happening is I look out at the sky, and it was like somebody had a shower on. They said it was all green, and there was some green, believe it or not just red and white tracers, but there was some green tracers. I think they're Chinese or something, but all this stuff was coming up at us, and I could hear this ping, 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 ping in the helicopter, you know, the tail and the body of the helicopter, and rounds are flying through the helicopter. Major. We got 500 guys shooting at us. We sat down on the ground, we let these officers out, and it turned out that not every officer was loyal. There was a guy that was a double agent. He was really a Viet Cong or whatever sympathizer. So when he gets out and his other officers run in front of him, nobody's watching him except me and the pilot, he turns around and he has an AK-47 and he aims it directly at me. And I turn around and look at that, and all I see is light. When he pulls the trigger, it's just light coming out. You know, and it's firing like about a 7.62 millimeter. It's a big round. And it fires, I don't know, several hundred rounds a minute, so it doesn't take long to empty a clip. He had a clip of 18 rounds. And it's coming. The first round hits me dead center in the heart. Right? Boom. 3 days before, talk about how somebody looks after you. 3 days before, they came to me and they say, "Hey, Mac," you know, being McDonald, you're Mac, right? "Hey, Mac, we got this ceramic chest protector. Nobody wants to wear it. It's too heavy, bulky. We're testing it. You want to test it?" I go, "Heck yeah, I'll test it." I got just a flak vest, right? If you ever seen a helicopter, the pilots are sitting in armed seats. There's metal, comes out the sides, protects the legs, the head. They got a ballistic helmet. They got a major chest protector. They're good. The door gunners are sitting on a canvas seat, no doors, wide open space. Everybody can see them. We're enlisted men, officers are in the front, right? So it kind of tells you where the value is at. So we're taking all these hits. The guy's shooting at me. First one hits in that new chest protector, blows a huge hole in my heart, where the heart's at, where the heart chakra's at. Boom, I get this explosion in my chest, and the stuff falls up, you know, flies up into my face, you know, this piece of ceramic. There's fire in my chest. There's a fire actually going on for a few seconds because apparently it must have been a tracer round. So there was a little fire coming out. And it knocked me so hard, because people don't understand. You watch a movie, oh, the guy he has a bulletproof vest, he gets hit, he gets up, and he walks away. No, you get hit, it's like a mule just kicked you. And I've never had a mule kick me, so I don't know. But it felt like that's the expression I want to use. It hit you so much force that I went back against the wall of the helicopter, and it broke the wire to my helmet. I was listening to, I hate to confess this, I wasn't listening to all the battle talk. I was listening to Armed Force Radio on mine. I was listening to the Rolling Stones. I was listening, you can't get no, I remember to this day, you can't get no satisfaction, right? I got, you can't get no satisfaction. And here I, boom, 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 boom. Surreal, right? For surreal. But true. It really was the rock and roll war. So I get knocked back. Guy empties the clip and he runs away. My pilot, you know, takes off. But we're so shot up by everybody else shooting at us. There's oil lines leaking. There's hydraulic lines leaking. There's gas leaking. And on the other side of the helicopter, unbeknownst to me, I got the other door gunners leaking blood. What happened was, here's the spooky part. Guy shoots 18 rounds. One hits here in my heart. It's visible. The other 17 rounds, no entry holes behind me or in front of me or anything. But on the other side, sitting back to back, he's on the other side, facing the other direction. There's 17 exit holes on his side, no entry holes on my side. So we go up here to the field over there, and we make a unscheduled landing, as they say in the business, in an open field. And I get the pilots out, and I got the fire extinguisher, I'm taking care of that. And the gunner's not getting out to help the other guy, so I go around the other side, and he's slumped over his gun, M60 machine gun, and there's just pools of blood everywhere. And I look behind him, and there's 17 holes coming out. It's just, you could see where it came out that way, the little metals belt outward. And he's in a pool of huge amount of blood. And I'm going, wait a minute. Shot from my side, no entry holes, just exit holes. Anyway, so I grab him, because we got 500 bad guys coming. And I throw him on my shoulder, and he's bleeding and everything. He's still alive. He's bleeding. And he's about 160 pounds, and I'm about 150 pounds. And my adrenaline's kicking. If you've ever carried a 165-pound man on your shoulder at full run, it's not very good for the back. I still feel it today. But my adrenaline was kicking. I was moving through the jungle. Like the old song, Stranded in the Jungle, for those of the 1950s. Anyway, there was a song. So I'm running through the jungle, and we get away from the helicopter, and we call in for a gunship. And a gunship comes in. A gunship is another Huey helicopter, but it's smaller, and it only can carry the crew, basically. So their fuel's a little bit low, so they took two of us. They took the wounded gunner, and of course the commander on my ship was a major, and he was the company commander, so he goes, I'm going, you guys stay. So he left me and this captain. This guy was a friend of mine. He was a black warrant officer, and he was a helicopter pilot. And he looks at me, and I look at him, and these guys just get on the helicopter and wave us, and they leave us in the friggin' jungle. And I go, what's going on here, right? So we're standing there, and I realize, because they go, we'll be back later today, meaning didn't know when, right? So I practice what they call escape and evasion, meaning I don't want to get away from the helicopter that's crashed, because that's where they're going to look for me. But I also got 500 guys that are like the campground over here, and they're coming. So what else do? You grab the machine gun off the helicopter, you take 2,000 rounds of ammo, and my ammo, I'd set it up. I don't know how many people were in the military, but you could set up ammo every 5th round, you could have a tracer. Well, when I had nothing to do, I made a belt that was solid tracers. My emergency belt, right? I figured this will look good. It looked like a lot of firepower. The machine gun fires 750 rounds a minute. All right. So I take the machine gun, because I've seen John Wayne movies, right? John Wayne just takes it on his hip, and he walks through the jungle, right? And Rambo and everybody walk through the jungle. First off, machine gun is heavy, and it gets hot when you fire it. I mean, these infantry troops used to tell me, yeah, we wet it. I said, what do you wet it with? Yeah, we wet it. Well, they pee on the barrel, right? I didn't know. I'm in a helicopter. It's air cooled, right? I got a blade going. So I'm on the ground, and I'm walking towards 500 North Vietnamese by choice. So I wasn't the brightest guy in the world. And my captain, this guy, the officer with me, he's got his 45. I said, just cover my back. And so he thought I was crazy, but he was going to stick right behind me. He stuck right behind me. And we walked through the jungle, and I just opened up 2,000 rounds. Actually, I fired about 1,500 or so. And then you know what happens. Machine gun bends. It gets so hot, the barrel steel, it actually gets red hot to white hot, and and all of a sudden I'm firing this, and then the trees are falling down, monkeys are jumping, birds are flying away. I mean, I'm just ripping it up, right? And all of a sudden there's a click. And I go, oh, I just ticked off all these guys. And now the gun don't work, right? So I decided at that time it was time to do something. Just for a little humor, because I thought at the time it was interesting. I thought, well, if I had to surrender, how would I do that? Now, in the military, back in the 60s, you didn't have anything white to wave. You didn't have a white T-shirt, white underwear, nothing. So you couldn't wave a white flag, and they didn't teach you the word for surrender. I tried kemosabe, that didn't work, Hey, kemosabe, friends. No, So I figured it was going to be a bad day, so we escaped and invaded the rest of the day. So finally, just before it got dark, about 8 hours later, running through the jungle, keep circling back to the helicopter, we finally got picked up. And then they picked up, they came back because they wanted the helicopter. Oh, you guys are still here. Oh, interesting. All right. Weren't expecting you. Anyway, so they picked up the helicopter, they brought it back, and we had everybody to investigate it. Everybody came out to investigate that helicopter because they're looking at my chest protector, and then they confiscated it. That was like evidence of something. They go, yeah, big, huge hole in it. And then they look at where I sat, no holes. Then they go to the other side of the helicopter, 17 holes. 18 rounds, 17 invisibly go through. And if you know the structure of a helicopter, it had to go through a transmission that's sitting in the middle of that thing, metal. Went through that, comes out the other side. The divine hand of protection. Unfortunately for my gunner, I'm sorry, it didn't work for him, but for me. So regardless of what circumstances you're into, if you trust, you believe, and you have great faith. I never doubted. I never was fearful. Fear's the killer. Because if it doesn't kill you there in Vietnam, it'll kill you later because that fear is repressed, and then you have it for years and years, and you think you're battling something. It's always that fear that you didn't deal with. So you got to just let it go. I got called, that happened in 1967. I got called in 2008, 10, something. I don't remember what year it was. And I looked at the phone. That's what tells you where the phone's coming from. It was Langley, Virginia. I go, oh. He says, I'm a contractor working for the government. Yeah, I said, I know you are. He says, we've been studying you. I said, how'd you get my number? He says, don't ask. I said, okay. I said, how can you study it? Well, I got your file here. I said, you got your file. Can I get a copy of that? Yeah, but we'd have to redact everything but your name. I go, it's a file on me and you'd have to redact? Yeah. So then he kind of tells me basically, they investigated me in 1967. Publicly, they said, this is crazy. We don't believe in it. It's just weird stuff. Swamp gas or something. Yeah, but whatever excuses they gave at the time. But they still had my vest with the hole in it. And this guy had a committee of, I don't know, 5 or 6 engineers. And they had a budget of $28 million. And they were trying to figure out how mechanically and electronically they could duplicate what happened to me. I said, good luck. Well, we wanted to talk to you. I said, well, if you want to fly me in there and buy me dinner and put me up at a hotel, and I'll teach you how to meditate, that'll be a start. Didn't fly. But anyway, so in Vietnam, it wasn't always godless. There was moments when God was there, and you knew that divine was there protecting you. You could feel the hand of God. It was, okay, something simple, because I tell this when I go to a normal church, not that you guys aren't normal churches. I tell the story of the power of prayer. We were flying around. It was early in the morning. We're in Huey. We're on just one helicopter on a mission, and we're supposed to be supporting troops that are in the jungle below us. In the jungle below us, there's this thick fog. I don't know if you've ever been in the jungle or something. There's a fog that comes over in the morning. It's not even next to the ocean or nothing else. It could be 80 degrees, 100 degrees. There's still this morning fog, and you can't see the tops of the trees. And we're flying about 200 feet, and the trees are about 100, right? And we're concentrating, trying to find this group of soldiers that's in a clearing to bring them some supplies. And we've been flying around all morning, and it's the pilot's job, not my job, to look at the thing called a gas gauge. I mean, simple task. There's a gas gauge on there. Look at it once you think it's important. Huey helicopter can only fly for about 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and you're using about 200 gallons, an hour. I mean, you're going to have to stop for gas sometime, right? It's not an electric vehicle, and it'd be a long plug anyway, right? So finally, when you get down to a certain level of fuel, which I didn't know because I never went through the experience before, and the pilots didn't know, and it wasn't in the manual, but a thing called a fuel alarm goes off. Ding, 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 red light on the dash. And I go, what is that? And he goes, nobody knew. And we look, oh, we're out of fuel. We got a warning light on the fuel. So I asked the pilot, I go, is that 5-minute warning, 10-minute warning? What is it? They go, they never taught me that. Never figured we'd get there, right? So nobody knew. They thought I would know. Well, Mac, how much fuel we got? I go, you got enough. What does that mean? You got enough. Something will happen, right? So we're looking for a place to bring it down. Realize if it runs out of fuel, it's just going to drop. And you got what they call a triple canopy of trees down below. Meaning if you drop, you can drop on top of trees. The blade's going to eat up the things. You're going to end up burning, crashing. It's not going to be a good day at the office. So I start praying. I'm praying to God. I go, come on. This is my come to Jesus moment. All right, I'm calling in the cards. Come on, you owe me one. Come on, there's other guys on here. And just as this thing is getting, minutes and minutes into this beeping, just below us, clouds kind of clear. And we look over this, and there's an open spot below, right? Just below us, there's like a little clearing, like a little campground, right? Just a little clearing like that. And we just start coming down, and then we run out of fuel just like 5 feet before we shut down. So we just went boom. We're out of fuel. But we're on the ground. We're all happy. Yay! And then I look around because the rest of the jungle's foggy, and I look at the tree line, and I see dudes coming out with weapons towards us all the way around us. And I go, oh, that was a good prayer. Thanks, you guys. Got me exactly where I wanted to land, right? So I'm getting ready. I got the gun. Is it good guys? Is it bad guys? And I figured, well, it's got to be good guys. It's me, right? Come on, I'm being taken care of. And it turned out it was our own guys. And it turns out to be the only place in that whole jungle where they brought up what they call a bladder, this big, huge rubber container that had jet fuel in it. Not truck fuel or Jeep fuel for them, but actually had helicopters, Only place in the whole jungle we could find it, and there it was. And we're just yards away. So we had them fill up containers and bring them over to us because we couldn't move at that point. We're out of fuel. Prayer. Trusting, knowing that somebody's going to take care of us. Right? So in Vietnam, just kind of give more uplifting, because I had an experience where I got shot down in a 3-week period, 3 weeks. I think it was April. 3 weeks, I was shot down 3 times, wounded once, got nominated for a Silver Star, got a Distinguished Flying Cross, got a Purple Heart, and I got a couple air medals, all in 3 weeks. That's, even I'm kind of going, that's, So the company commander, he looks at me and he says, no, you're going to take a vacation. So he's going to give me this vacation, and he's going to send me to Nha Trang, this beautiful beach town. God loves you. You're okay. He's going to send me on my own. I'm going to go in country about 200 miles up the coast where I was at, and just have a vacation. So I take him at his word. So I pack a camera. I don't take a weapon, nothing. I don't even take a knife, nothing. Just, I'm going to be a tourist, right? So I go to Nha Trang. I don't know if you've been in Nha Trang before. It's this beautiful town. It's right on the coast. It's got a Buddhist temple up on a hill. The Buddha on the temple is the roof. And it's so big you could fly a helicopter around this Buddhist temple. It's a huge statue. It's got to be 80 feet tall. And I go, this is where I'm at. And I walk off the military base where all these guys are on barbed wire, watchtowers, all these guys are secure, And I go, I'm going to town. And I'm going to rent a place. And I'm going 7 miles from the military base where there's not another American anywhere. Why not, right? I ran out of gas in the jungle, no problem. I got shot at, no problem. I'll survive this, right? So I find this hotel kind of like thing run by, a family. And I wanted a room, and I got the room, and she says, "Do you need anything?" And I knew what you meant. Do you want a woman up there or something? I go, "I want nothing." I said, "I just want to sleep. I haven't been able to sleep in 3 weeks. So tense the body, so tense the action that I just couldn't relax." And I'm a pretty easy guy to relax, but it was so much tension, and so many guys got killed around me. I was just, do I want to go to sleep tonight? Because we're getting attacked again. So I went into the room, said nobody in my room. Leave me alone. Don't bother me, right? That was my orders. So I'm in this room, still trying to sleep. I'm looking out my window at this Buddhist temple, and it was so beautiful. And in the other window, you could see the South China Sea with the blue water, beautiful beaches. It was gorgeous. I laid down in the bed, and somebody's knocking at my door. And I go, "I just said don't bother me," right? They're knocking at my door, right? So I opened the door, and there's this most beautiful young woman. She looked like she was half French, half Vietnamese. And she's got shorts on, tank top, long black hair. And she just walks in. And I go, "Hey, look, I told the lady run this place, I don't want nobody up here. I want nothing, go away and everything." And so I went over, laid back in my bed, and I thought she'd walk out the door. She didn't. Then she come over and she started rubbing my back. And most relaxing I've ever been in my entire, you know where this is going. Most relaxing, all of a sudden all the tension in my body just went. And I go, wow, I'm actually, and then being a typical young 20-year-old, I'm going, well, maybe this is kind of nice. As soon as I had a kind of a stray thought, all of a sudden the hands are gone and she's not there. Oh, door didn't open, door didn't close. I go outside, there's a long hallway with a Vietnamese guy sitting down at the end of the hall by the stairs. I go, "Where'd that lady go?" "What lady?" "The one that came in here." "Nobody came in, sir." I said, "Yes, somebody did." "No, nobody did." So I had this argument going. So there it was. I couldn't figure it out. But those healing hands on my shoulder and my back, every muscle was relaxed. All tensions were gone. My mind and my spirit and my body were totally restored. I took a 12-hour nap. It was just beautiful. So there I was, staying in this place. I mean, there was fighting going on in the town at night, I guess. There was guns going off and stuff. I'm staying in a hotel, and the closest American is 7 miles away. And I don't have a weapon, and I didn't care. I knew I was protected. I knew I was loved. So the Vietnam experience teaches us a lot of things. But no war teaches us to love like we really should love. But those that survive war know real love. And they know their friends and their comrades and the people they fought with are brothers. And it was a united force. But if you believed and you trusted and you had faith, God, the divine, was there to protect you. So we're going to have an interlude of about 10 minutes here, a little meditative music. Feel free to close your eyes and relax. I'm going to come back and we're going to go part 2. We're going to go down a different journey. When we come back, I'm going to talk about Babaji. All right, I'm going to talk about, some people think a mythical figure. Some people think a biblical figure. Some people have no clue, an avatar, or something greater, something less. Babaji. Now realize the name Babaji, there's a lot of people that identify as Babaji. We're talking about Mahavatar Babaji, the one that was in Autobiography of a Yogi. There's people out there now that are called Babaji, so don't get confused. There's a difference. Baba's father, Babaji is a revered father. And I didn't know that at the time. When I went to India, I had these people go, American Babaji, American Babaji. I go, what, you sacrilegious, what's this? Come on. It just means revered father. But the one I'm talking about is the Babaji, the one of Autobiography of a Yogi. A lot of people underestimate who and what He is. What that power is, what it is. I've been chasing that question for my whole life, since I read autobiography at 9 years old. I went to Babaji's cave. What's Babaji's cave? Babaji cave, in Autobiography of a Yogi, Paramahansa writes about a man named Larry Masha, who was a guru, and he's climbing around the Himalayas, and he hears his name called out, and he ends up at this cave in the Himalayan mountains, and he meets up with this ever alive, ever present Babaji. And he didn't know who he was either, but then he got reawakened and he realized who he was. And Babaji brought back the old ancient teachings of Kriya Yoga, which is a Kundalini raising energy method. When I'm here next year, if you want to learn that, we can do that. But Kriya Yoga, as some people say, it's not yoga, it's yoga. Okay, not for yogi, yoga. But Kriya Yoga was taught to, supposedly, all the great sages, all the great seers, Jesus, Moses, all these different people in history. Supposedly, Babaji connected with them and taught them this meditation technique. Whatever that is or the truth, I don't know. But I know I had 4 encounters myself that I can talk about. Just let it go at that. So, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But what I've come to know and realize for myself and from talking to gurus in India that have met him as well, that Babaji is not just an avatar. He'd come and appear, do some things. He's something much bigger, greater. His domain is this cosmos we're living in, and that he was here from the beginning of this earth, and he'll be to the end of this earth, taking the souls that develop here and moving them forward spiritually. So he's been here since the beginning, he'll be here at the end. That's what they tell me. I have no reason to doubt it. He's supposedly in perpetual youth. You see him, he looks like a young 20-something man, which is interesting because the autobiography mentions he also has another side, a sister, that people don't talk about too much, but Babaji got a sister just as powerful. I filled my heart with his presence several times. First time, probably not as grand and as beautiful as I'd like to admit. And I'm only going to reason to tell you the story is because at the ashram, the guru made me tell the story. I'll tell you how it went. We're sitting around a campfire. A lot of things happen around. In India, when you have a campfire, it's a sacred thing. And that's the place you have sacred stories. And sometimes you just sit around the campfire and you just sit around the campfire. It's the energy from everybody. And if you're sitting with the guru, you don't need words. All right. So the guru went to bed and left me kind of in charge of this fire, and there was a bunch of Westerners there and this Indian girl, and we started getting off on the subject of spooky stuff, UFOs, demons, devils, crazy stuff, ghosts, all that stuff. And these people start telling all their experiences. Oh yeah, I got scared with this, One guy was an ex-drug addict and alcoholic, and he had some really crazy stuff, happen when in that world. And I made a brag. When you make a statement at ashram, sacred grounds, and you challenge the universe and say something like I did, nothing scares me. Yeah, never ever tell God, nothing scares me. Go ahead, test me. Nothing scares me, right? So I had a reputation at the ashram because the guru there, when he first met me, he called me, he read my book, and he called me the general. I was never a general, but he called me the general from past life experiences, he said. I said, okay. So I was like the big hero warrior guy there, right? Yeah, Bill, the general. So that was my reputation, fearless. So after I make this brag, put the fire out, I go to my bungalow. I'm by myself. It's a dark room. I open the door. I got my flashlight. And as soon as I open this dark room, sitting on my bed, cross-legged, staring at me with laser eyes, I mean lasers coming at me, is Babaji himself. And it's like stern look, like nothing scares you, and boom, these lasers are coming at me. And I go, whoa, here's a big one coming, boom. And my flashlight goes up. How many people see 2001 Space Odyssey? At the beginning of the movie where the apes throw up the bone, and my flashlight's doing this, it comes down, spins around, and my heart's going bum, 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 bum. I mean, I just didn't expect this, right? And I'm down there, pick up the flashlight, and I slowly get up, and I shine, and he disappears, right? And my thought was, thank God nobody saw that. That's my secret. That's good. Nobody knows. The big general almost had a heart attack, right? Seeing Babaji, the least harmful person in the universe, right? So I just quiet. Next day, I'm walking across the ashram compound, going to have breakfast. And I hear these little patter, these little feet behind me. It's the guru, all 5'5" or 4 of them. And he goes, Beer. And he folds his arms and he says, I thought those things weren't supposed to scare you. I go, what things? And he just goes. And so we get into have breakfast, and everybody at the ashram's there. There's about 100 people. And he goes, Beer. Tell them how brave you were last night. No, tell the whole story, right? So it got exposed. I told the whole story. Of course, he was laughing the whole time. So that was my first introduction, but not my last. But it was a lesson. Never challenge the universe. All right. The second and the third time were a day apart. It was in 2010. The first time I had my nose cut off. I mean, this is a multiple story here. First time I had my nose completely cut off. And I came home from the surgery, and of course it was really painful and everything. And they gave me pills to take, and for pain, I got, I'm too tough for that. Well, you know what? After they burn your face, I mean, the locals were, it was pretty painful. That was the one time in my life I was tempted. And I took half a pill. I put it in my mouth, and I go, come on, Babaji. Do I really? So I said a prayer to Babaji, and I put the pill in my mouth. I swallowed the water. As soon as I had the water in my mouth, the pain went away. So I didn't need the pill. I said, okay. But it was bleeding, and it was all. So I was tired. It was about 5 o'clock at night. I told my wife, I'm going to go lay down and take a nap for a while. And so I go lay down, and I wake up in this dark room. It's dark. I can't see anything, but my pillow's wet. My sheets are wet. Blankets are wet. I go, my God, was I crying that bad? Was the big general, was he crying? I wet the pillow and everything with my tears. So I come downstairs and tell my wife, I said, I think I was weeping. I mean, everything's wet up there. She goes, what? So she goes upstairs and she comes back with all these bloody sheets and pillows and everything. She goes, you weren't crying, you were bleeding. And what's my reaction? Oh, thank God. Oh, it's only blood. My wife goes, you're freaking crazy, right? Picture my poor wife sometimes. So, sorry. Anyway, so I go to bed that night. Of course, at that point, you sleep in a separate room. You go over there, bleed over there. So I'm in this room at about 4 o'clock in the morning, which if you're in India, that's called Shiva hour, because that's like the most sacred time between like 3:15 and 4:15 or so, right around that 4 o'clock hour. Best meditation. The world's at peace. It's the time to really find. If you got a problem, wake up 4 o'clock, deal with it. You can always go back to bed, but wake up 4 o'clock. So at 4 o'clock, I'm laying there and I got this patch over my nose and this patch over one eye. I mean, it's just big bloody patch. And all of a sudden, the room lights up like the sunrise. I mean, it's like I'm looking at the sun. I roll over and this 9-foot wall in this room is just a big sunburst. Like, shards of light coming out. I mean, it was beautiful. Should have blinded me. And you think, number one, you'd be excited, like, hey, this is cool. What's this? What's going on? No, it was I'd roll over and look at it and I go, yeah, I expected that. That's okay. That's cool. That was it. I'm just like, yeah, okay. And then I'm feeling all this love. I mean, how many got an Italian grandma or a Jewish grandma, right? Or a black grandma? You know how grandmas are, and they pinch your cheeks, and they kiss you and they hug you, Try a million of them at the same time, right? I mean, it's overwhelming. So I'm getting that feeling, and all of a sudden this arm reaches right out of the wall, this bare arm, and it just reaches out and touches my face like that, right over the wound, all over the wound. And I just was like being cradled in a blanket of love. It was pure love. And I just laid there, don't know how long. It just could have been forever. Could have been an eternity. On the wall clock, it might have been half hour, but I mean, it was like forever. And it just felt great. And then I had to go get surgery at 6 o'clock, so I'm in the car. And I told my wife the story, and she goes, yeah, okay, that's interesting. All right. So we go to the doctor. The doctor explains to my wife what they're going to do to me. The doctor's, this guy had been 30-some years as a surgeon. He had his way. He told me he said he had a picture of my face with the nose off, and he had a graph around it, squares. He goes, I'm going to do this here, there. I'm going to cut your forehead in a triangle. Then I'm going to fold it over and sew it on there, and I'm going to take pieces of your ear, use that in there for a little cartilage. Maybe I'll steal some bones someplace, something. Anyways, he's got this plan, right? He says, I've been working on this for about 2 hours. I got it worked out, the surgery. My wife's just kind of going with her eyes like this. Okay. What's her husband going to look like? He said, but don't worry about 3 or 4 surgeries after that. We'll get rid of the hump. We'll get rid of this. That'll heal. Another 3 surgeries, 5 surgeries, it'd be semi-okay. Semi-okay. But he says, I know what I'm doing. So she leaves me and they wheel me off in for surgery. I come out, I don't remember everything. I'm out, and I come out and it's done, right? And I got bandages on my face, no mirrors, I don't know what's going on. My wife's just staring at me. She calls for the doctor. And I go, oh man, this must really be bad, right? And she goes, you didn't do what you said you were going to do. And he goes, well, for the first time in my entire medical career, I didn't follow my graft. I didn't follow my plan. I made it up. And she goes, what? I decided not to take his forehead. I decided not to do all that stuff. So I just took a big chunk of his shoulder, left his ears alone. I just took his shoulder and rebuilt his nose. He says, I'd never done it before, but I was inspired. So I'm listening to all this. Oh, that's cool. Okay. And then, of course, he gives me another bottle of 500 gram, megagrams or whatever this thing, the oxy stuff. I go, I don't need it. No, you're going to need it. I've done, there's like 100 stitches or something, some crazy number. And I go, no, I don't need it. No. So the next morning at 4 a.m., what do you think happens? Another visit. This beautiful burst of sun comes out. This arm comes out and just holds my face. Just holds it right over to all the bandages and everything. And I'm feeling really great. So I don't know if anything's happening, but it just feels good, right? So I'm kind of quiet about it. I'd canceled a wedding I was going to go to that was going to be just like in 2 weeks in Napa Valley. I wanted to show up with some guy with, stitches and looking like a Frankenstein. I canceled it. And the guru was going to be there because it was one of his disciples, and there was a table set aside for us. And I canceled. And then I went to the doctor about day 10, and I take off the bandages, and he's going to take the stitches out. And he's just staring at me, and I go, what's up? And he says, I ain't never seen this before. He says, but 10 days with graft, you don't have skin growing over the stitches. I go, what? He says, every stitch is grown over. In 10 days, skin grew over all the stitches. So then he had to cut it and dig them all out, which was really comfortable. Ting, 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 but it showed that they grew. So the graph was not only taking, it was growing in 10 days. And it didn't look half so bad. So what I did, because it was all one side that was really bad. So he said, well, if you wear an eye patch over there, you can cover up. Loved it, man. I had an eye patch. It looked really cool. It was black. It was neat. Anyway, so I said, I'll go to the wedding. So I go to the wedding. I'm being quiet. I didn't say nothing to nobody. Being quiet. Sitting at this wedding table. There's 9 people from his group there. And he looks over at me and he goes, Bill, tell him what happened the other couple of nights. I go, what? He says, that wasn't a dream, wasn't a vision, wasn't your imagination. You were visited by the big boss. Now, he calls the big boss Babaji. And then he went through to tell all these people at the table that what happened to me was real and it was Babaji. And it was okay to talk about it, because I wasn't sure I could talk about it. You know, when you have these experiences, unless somebody directs you, you're wasting a lot of spiritual gold by just spilling it out there to people. Because, you know, doubters and stuff, you know, it's your sacred thing. So I've been, it doesn't sound like it that I've been careful with it, because I got hundreds of stories. But I have thousands of stories. I only tell the top. I just tell these stories because I've been allowed to tell these stories, been ordered to tell these stories, mandated to tell these stories. All right, so that was first, second, and third time. Fourth time, I think some of you, if you watch my YouTube videos, or maybe I talked about my near-death life, where I'm in the hospital, and Babaji visits me in the hospital. Okay, let's talk about that. So, on my naughty palm leaf reading, I was told, and we'll talk about that if you want later, private, I was told that I was going to have a visit someday. Babaji was going to come and bless me. He was going to pour oil and water on my head and chant and all this crazy stuff. And I said, yeah, okay, fine. That was predicted, you know, way back. Well, I'm in the hospital. I just finished, let's see, that was my 12th heart attack, I think. I just had quadruple bypass surgery. Yeah, I got to keep track of these things. So, my last day, full day in the hospital, and I'm laying in bed, hospital bed, and all of a sudden it's like this glass dome. If you took a glass salad bowl, you know, and you turned it upside down, and you were a miniature person, you look, yeah, it looks like that, like a big bowl over you, but it's energy. It's like, you know, it's energy. And everything outside of it I can't see. But my thought was, nobody could see me either. It was just this little bowl I'm in. And I look at the end of the bed, and there is standing Babaji, long black hair, no shirt on, bare feet. Of course, he's in America now. What is he doing? He's wearing Levi's. Yeah, right? He's got jeans on. So I go, well, that's cool. It's my, you know, I'm thinking it's my delusion. It's my dream. I can have it any way I want it, right? So now he's at the end of the bed, which would be like back there, right? And I didn't think twice about it, but you know, it's my delusion. The arm is coming up over my head, and it's pouring oil and water and chanting, and everything's cool. And I'm going, well, you know what? Nobody's ever going to believe it, but it feels good. If you can have a delusion, it's a good delusion to have. Feels great. Go with it. So I get home from the hospital. I'm home a couple of days, and my daughter comes, and she goes, Dad, you know, our old neighbor, David, he came, and David is not open to this stuff, trust me. No, not that world. So he said he came to visit you at the hospital, you know, the last day before you checked out. I said, no, he didn't. She says, oh, no, he insisted. He was there. I said, no, he wasn't. Yes, he is. He told me he went to the hospital, and he started to walk in the room, and he saw you were talking to this crazy young Indian guy with no shirt on, barefoot, pair of Levi's, pouring stuff on your head and chanting some crazy language, and he started to laugh, and he didn't want to embarrass you, and he left.
Wow.
So I told my daughter the story, and she goes, oh, so maybe it was a delusion. That's the 4 I could talk about. Let's let it go at that. But I'm telling you that Babaji is real. His energy is pure love. If you go looking for him and seeking him, you're only going to chase. Always chase. all these spiritual things that happen to you, out-of-body experiences, whatever it happens to be, walking through a wall, time travel, all these things, if you're seeking those, you're missing the journey. The journey is about love. If you're meditating to find enlightenment, I'm sorry. If you're meditating to spend time with God, now you're on the right track. All these other things are a side dish. It's not the main meal. If you're seeking God, what do they say in the Bible? All else will be given to you. Seek the Lord first, right? Seek to love God. You don't even want God to go, just go to love God. That's what it's all about. So, is Babaji real? To me, yes. I've had other incidences. I've met a couple of very highly evolved yogis that have trained under him. I believe it because I've seen it and I've experienced it. It's different than theory. Seek first the kingdom of God. It's within you. So you're looking for Babaji? Look in the mirror. It's all within you. It's not outside of you. Goodness dwells within each of us. And this community knows better than anybody. My God, you guys are so attentive and loving here. This is amazing. I love you guys. This is beautiful. You guys are doing a lot of beautiful, good things here. Continue. You want to change the world? Just change yourself. You guys will change the rest of the world. All right, we're going to give a prayer blessing. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, I want you to reach into the heart chakras, everybody here. Let them feel your love. Let them feel your presence within. Let them realize that they are you. We are one. Bless them as they go about their week this week and this month. Bless them on their journey with courage, faith, and service and forgiveness in their hearts. Amen. Now, anybody wants a special blessing? If you want another, good. We'll do this. If you can start playing. You are loved. Become love. Be love. You are loved. You are loved. You are loved.
Thank you.
neighbors that you don't talk to. You don't have to talk to them. Just give them the love from your heart. But make peace. Forgiving others is freeing you. Forgiving others is healthy. It's the only way to get well. Find love. Give love. Become love. Because you are born of love, live your life in love. And when you die, die in love. There's no other reason to spend time on this earth plane. What is your purpose in life? To love. Do that through service. Do that in giving of yourself. You're not here to get. You're here to give. You're not here to be understood. You're here to understand. You're not here to be heard, but to listen to others. You're not here to be friended. You're here to give friendship. It's about giving. Some of you understand this very deeply, and it's a daily part of your life. But don't leave out the most important person you need to give to. Yourself. You can't give what you don't have. You could try. Eventually you break down. Forgive yourself. Love yourself. You're one with the divine. However you see the divine matters not. If you see in the divine as Jesus, then divine is Jesus. If you see Buddha as your vision of the divine, great. If you see God as energy, as light, as love, as a flower, it makes no difference. But feel and see the divine within yourself, and you will find that everything else is divine. There is nothing outside of you. The whole universe is within you. You are me. I am you. We are one. What you're feeling right now is the oneness of the group. Unfortunately, our energy is not expanding far enough for everybody, but we try. Start with you. Don't go, I'm going to heal the world. I'm going to save this person. I'm going to save you, heal you, forgive you. Changing you changes the chemistry, changes the energy, the focus, the frequency of the world. Like butterflies flying in Brazil, the butterfly effect, right? Causes a hurricane in Florida 5 years from now. Love is the greatest weapon of all. It fights the darkness. The darkest, biggest room, if you light the smallest birthday candle, you'll see it. There's a little light, even if there's a lot of darkness. Be the spark. Be the love that others see, feel. If nobody else is helping, then why not you? And how old you got to be your authentic self? It's now. Be the real you. Bury the hatchet. Whatever happened in the past, it's the past. Let it go. You're waking up today, you're leaving here. When you leave here today, be reborn. Be that person that you want to be. Be that person you envision, that good side of you. Be that person. No such thing as failure when you're trying. It's just one step closer. God loves you. Make no doubt about it. No doubt. When I was in Vietnam, I trusted. I believed. I knew I was being looked after. Regardless of what happened, I was going to follow my own heart. Follow yours. Work from where God planted you and placed you in this world. Wherever you're at, work from there. You don't have to win a Nobel Prize or do heart surgery or find a cure for cancer to do good in this world. Just listen to somebody. Just love somebody. Just be open. Reverend Bill loves you. Sit in peaceful silence if you wish. Move around. We're going to kind of officially kind of just bring it down here, but I'm going to hang around.
Would you allow us to send love to you? We can all put our hands.
Yeah, if you want it. I never turn down prayers, food, or money. Go ahead. I'm receptive.
Come and put their hands on the man. This way. Love the bells.
All right. All right. If I was in India, would I be the touchable instead of the untouchable? All right. All right.
You can go through me.
All right. Let's everybody feels this, because you know it's going to boomerang back. Whatever you give, you get. I love you all.
And we love you.
I feel your heart. Feel mine. Feel my love. My love is your love. We are one. There's nothing outside of us. There's nothing outside of any of us. We are now connected in this moment, in the now, spiritually. Go forth and give love and peace. Find joy in your hearts. Blessings to all of you.
Thank you.
Blessings to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Awesome.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.